So I gave it more time. I tested it on the right side, on the left side, my lower back, laying down, meditating, putting it over my heart. No matter where I put it, my body felt better. My body responded to the frequencies. And I'm like, holy cow, this is amazing.
Hey, Alex, thanks for spending some time with me today, my friend.
Thank you, Tracy. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
Well, I'm excited to meet your audience and share a little bit about QHS with them. So, do you want to tell them who I am? Your
This
friend?
she is the Vice President of Media for Quantum Healing Systems. And she's made over 100 videos and of testimony of people that have been using the technology. And she's basically jack of all trades at the moment when it comes to all the media that Quantum Healing Systems does. And we are very blessed to have her. And those of you who are using the system, if using the devices, if you haven't already spoken to her, then Tracy, why don't you give everyone your email so that they would know how to get in touch with you?
Okay, well, if they're members, they receive the newsletter every day, and it has the link, the calendar link, so they can schedule with me.
Okay.
It is in the newsletter at least 3 days a week. So that's the best way. But my email is Tracy, TRACEE, at QTWE.net.
Outstanding.
So, and Alex is one of our amazing ambassadors, and I just adore him so much, and his playful ways and fun giggle and our banter that we like to have on our team calls. So, Alex, why don't you tell them what is a QHS ambassador?
You know, there are many different definitions and terms and different types of ambassadors. There are those that represent foreign governments or theologies. There are those that are brand ambassadors, such as Hollywood stars or professional athletes. They'll represent a sneaker or a cologne or a hair color product. QHS, Quantum Healing Systems Ambassador, is about reintroducing an amazing technology. And if you'll notice, I mentioned the word reintroducing because the ancients of old understood color, light, and sound. They understood that our physical bodies and our physical reality represented color, light, and sound. And that this technology is not old. Well, it's very, very old, actually. Excuse me, it's very old. However, it had been suppressed and it had not been available to the public for a very long time. It is now being reintroduced with the benevolence of Dr. Alfredo and Cynthia and all of everyone who's working with quantum healing systems. And, you know, I'm not just an ambassador, I'm a user. I use the technology. I use it every single day. And Cynthia approached me about this 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, and I just wasn't in the place to even deal with it. And last fall, early fall, she began talking to me about it again. And I'm like, okay. So she sent me a device. And I had a lot of physical challenges. And one of those was chronic pain that I was experiencing from 2 specific surgeries. And I was living on Aleve every day, Aleve or turmeric, curcumin, anything that I could find. And there were just days it had to be a leave. And of course, you know, that stuff will just destroy your liver in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
She sent me a black device. Oh, it's over on the table. And she goes, you know, put it under your pillow or, you know, wherever it hurts, aches and pains. And I'm like, okay. It sat in the box for a week.
Great.
And then I took it out and I charged it. And I'm like, okay, let's take this thing for a test run. Within 3 days, I had no pain,
Wow.
absolutely no pain. And I'm like, wow, there's something to this. So I gave it more time. I tested it on the right side, on the left side, my lower back, laying down, meditating, putting it over my heart. No matter where I put it, my body felt better. My body responded to the frequencies. And I'm like, holy cow, this is amazing. And then it sort of clicked because I watched something that Dr. Alfredo had said in an interview. I think it was before you joined QHS, and he mentioned 369 Tesla, and boom, it all clicked. Okay, that's what it is. What he and those with him back in the 80s had figured out, 70s and 80s, was how to wrap the frequencies, the frequencies of the universe into a band like a DNA strand, okay, and harness the frequencies into a device. And you know, there's probably, I think what they're working on with the home healing system, there are at least, they've been able to map, I think he said they've been able to map in the brain 43 to 47,000 different frequencies. Okay. So their goal is to get those frequencies and wrap them together in the device. Now, when you contemplate that type of an achievement, what you're looking at is you are essentially ending all autism, all brain injuries. You can virtually do almost anything. Not to mention the fact that if the brain is completely healed and is working, so will the pineal gland be absolutely operational, which means we will all have all of the abilities that we were all meant to have. There'll be no more calcification from fluoride, from bad foods, from chemicals. All of that will be as it was originally intended. And you know, and the things just clicked, and I'm like, oh my God, I have so got to be a part of this, because I've seen this technology work in space. Okay, and I don't know if your audience knows who I am, and you know, if you want to know, you can research it. Okay, but I've spent time with an extraterrestrial race. They use this technology to heal their own, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is it. This is it. This is the only thing that I've seen on Earth that is comparable to that. And in conversations with the inventors of this technology, there have been experiments, I believe, on animals where they've been able to grow a limb of regrow the limb of an animal who hadn't had it for years. And I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is it. This will not only restore one's body, but it will also give them back their life. So the first place I go to with this is veterans, not just here in the States, but around the world. Then you go to refugees, those people in war zones, the civilians, especially the children, you know, who have been harmed and maimed by bombs and roadside explosions, all these things. Here is an opportunity, a technology to heal and restore humanity to its original form. And of course I got absolutely excited. And I'm like, Cynthia, I'll do it. I'll do it. Just take the leash off, let me go, And and I have absolutely no regrets. I am really shocked and surprised at the level of resistance from corporate America, from the banking industry. I'm not surprised by government, or the banking or the pharmaceutical company. I'm not surprised by that. But you would think the Department of Defense would turn right around and tell all these idiots, we're the adults in the room, sit down
Yeah.
and shut up. We're going to do this for our own people, for our guys, the ones that we drafted, the ones that we sent to the front to do this. We're going to do this for them. You would think they would stand up and do this. So I'm a little shocked and a little surprised, but it only inspires me to be more of an ambassador, to just keep chipping away at the crust of these guys. Because if it were them, if any one of them had been in a wheelchair and could never walk again, and they were a decision maker, you're damn sure right, they would be in that queue arc in a New York minute, which is 10 seconds. Okay. So, just and that's what I keep trying to mirror back to them, is put yourself in their place. You would do the same. You would want this opportunity. You could get your legs back, you can get your limbs back, your organs, you could have a full life. You would be able to make love to your partners. You could play ball with your kids. You could travel. You could go for hikes. You could watch sunsets. You'd have your life back. And I don't even bring up the age reversal thing yet. But just trying to get people to just focus in on this thing. Wow, here is a device. Here is a technology that could actually restore the human body. We just have to do this. We can't. That's nonsense. The fact that George Bush Sr. shut this down in 91, this can never, ever happen again.
Right.
So that's kind of how I see this. And even though I may not talk about it a lot on the calls, behind the scenes, I'm burning ears out. I am melting the wax in their ears with conversations about all this and what the technology can do and its potential. Athletes, professional athletes, you could cut injuries down by injury time to heal by a third. You can extend the life of a professional athlete maybe another 5 to 8, 10 years with this technology. And I mean, imagine if our lifetimes weren't so short, the things that we could get accomplished as a humanity.
Yeah. And I always say people live too short and die too long, meaning that they live with health and energy and, vigor until they're about 60. And then they start popping pills for symptoms and they have low energy. They just don't have that life left in their years. They're going to have.
A lot of that has to do with the food,
right.
Has to do with the water, has to do with the air. These are all things we could work on. It also has to do with specific types of treatment that we're giving, that are being given through accredited industries in around the world, where there are side effects that create other causes.
Exactly.
So, and that's a slippery slope. The minute you go down that road, you are constantly trying to get to the top of the hill. And because you're taking this pill and that pill or this or that, what happens is that the earth underneath you begins to move because you're adding more symptoms. and the body can only do so much. And at one point, the body just is in survival. And that's when your life becomes very difficult.
Yes.
And there is absolutely no reason for it. We know this now. You know,
Oh, we do, but many people do not.
oh,
I was
yeah,
appalled the other
the
day.
knowledge is still out there. The knowledge is out there.
Yeah, the veil just needs to be lifted so that they can
Yeah.
actually see the truth. I was appalled. My stepdad, my mom has dementia and she doesn't have her device yet, but my stepdad allowed her to get another jab. And I was just like, I can't, like
Not on, right?
I was just blown away. I'm like, so anyways, but I do feel like they just don't get it and people don't understand the importance of eating a healthy diet, and I always say they just don't know what they don't know. So that's where education comes in.
Well, not all food is fuel.
Exactly.
It's not, and it, you know, growing up, the medicine was the food we ate. It was the food that our grandmothers made. They would make specific dishes with so many different types of herbs, knowing what they would do, how they would heal you. The famous chicken soup, you know, if you had the flu or you had a terrible cold, they would give you the chicken soup with a little bit of garlic in it, because they knew that the properties in the soup, in the broth, in the herbs that were put into the soup had a medicinal reaction in the body, and the body knew what to do with it. Where now food, most people don't see food as medicine, they see it as a filler, just to
Right.
fit them so they don't feel. And you might as well eat cardboard then, because that'll fill you as well. And it's about the same nutrition.
Oh yeah.
We have to get back to the basics, but they don't teach any of that. Even medical doctors don't get nutritional schooling in med school. They get a very basic, but that's why a lot of doctors go to homeopathic, naturopathic schools afterwards, so they can learn the nutritional piece, because they realize that popping pills and taking shots is never going to fix the problem, because the body isn't getting enough nutrition. They're smart enough to see that, but they can't talk about that.
Right.
The industry says, no, 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 you're here to peddle this crap for us. And in exchange, we'll give you a nice big fat check at the end of the year.
Yep.
Meanwhile, their families are sick, their friends' families are sick. It's a vicious cycle, and it has to end somewhere. Using the devices, for myself and other people that I've talked to, it's amazing how our habits for food have changed. There are just some things that I don't even go back to. It's just like, no, I can't even eat that anymore. So the body is now communicating. Well, it's always communicating, but now we're able to hear it. The body is communicating and saying, okay, Collier, you need to eat more greens, more leaves, more fruit, more vegetables, more artichoke hearts, all these things. And, they come off to me as cravings, but I realize now it's my body telling me what it needs.
That's good. And that's why we do the Waves of Wellness calls. I mean, people don't realize that the membership at QHS has so many benefits. I do the Waves of Wellness call once a week with a naturopath doctor. And, we are giving really good quality coaching and education. And, plus we have the Key Project and we have the Vibe Tribe and the international call. I mean, we actually want to help the whole being, so that when you are, when you have your device and you're wearing your little QT Wave device, you are also meeting it in the middle by establishing healthy habits. And this is both physical and mental and emotional and spiritual. You got yours too. Awesome. So, what do you see? How do you see your role evolving as an ambassador as we move forward?
Well, I just see it expanding, not only to the current dozen or so people that I talk to now, um, but I see it,
Dozen?
but
Okay.
I see it expanding in many different ways. I see I see this I see myself talking in front of a lot of corporate entities, aerospace industry, oil fields, to oil companies, shipping companies, anywhere where the job contains a lot of stress, and where the accident rate is relatively high because of the danger of the work that they do. Having devices and trained personnel on site of these locations, so that if something happens, they can get these people healed, put them right back on board, and get them, back out into the field, because it'll save time, it'll save personnel, it'll save a lot of money in retraining and in medical pay and disability pay. There is no downside to this technology. And the longer your people are there, the safer they are on the job. And the fact that they know that if something happens, they can be fixed on site. Probably 99% of the time they can be fixed on site. Um, you're going to have a very loyal employment
Hmm. Staff.
workforce.
Yeah.
They're going to want to stay with you. So you're not going to have the turnover that so many do now, because people want to stay in one place for the most part. They want something steady. They want to know that they can depend on this, because they're usually bought a house, raising families. They have kids in school or going to college. They want to give the kids the family stability. So this only adds to it. And, the truth of the matter is, when you look at this technology, maybe 20 years down the road in a very specific corporate setting or engineering setting, it would pay for itself multiple times,
Oh, yeah.
and now you have a workforce that's been with you 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And that means that there's no hitches, things are moving slow, you're progressing, you're hitting your targets, you're hitting your goals. Um, and your workforce is healthy, so that when they retire, you can move them into management, or they could become ambassadors for your own corporate firm or engineering company, or the things that you're doing, or they could move on and do other things themselves, or just enjoy retirement with their family and still be very, very active.
Yes. I like that. Instead of being retired and sit in front of TV and just have no life.
Yeah,
That's great.
waiting to cross over.
Yeah.
You
That's a
know,
great idea, Alex. I love it.
honey, is my social security check here so we can pay the rent? So I can buy more cigarettes or something like that. Yeah, that's not a life. That is survival. So, and that would change the perspective of everybody. And when you start changing one's consciousness in that way, it affects not only themselves and their immediate family, but those around them. It becomes infectious. And when everybody is feeling good, when everybody is healthy, everyone's in a much better mood. Things go better. We
Hmm.
create a better reality for everyone around us.
Very good
Like
point.
you said earlier, it's all about consciousness.
Well, I like what you said, because I was talking to somebody on the admin team and saying that you alone are responsible for everything you do, everything you don't do, and every way that you respond to what is done to you. And the higher your vibration, the better your response will be. Because if you are having a low vibe day, your response is going to typically be pretty negative. So only thing we can do is work on ourselves,
Yeah.
stay on that high flying disc. And then that way, when things don't go our way, our response is like, oh, well,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, our own happiness, our own bad moods is nobody else's responsibility. It's entirely our own,
yeah,
just to put what you just said, to put words to it. And yeah, if we get triggered and we make an idiot of ourselves, we've only compounded the problem and made it worse.
mm-hmm.
Vibration's very high. Uh, most people who are negative won't even want to talk to you, because your frequency will just move them away from you, and
Yeah,
then you have to deal with it. It's interesting how that works. Like energies attract like energies, and negativity will attract more negativity. It's like a magnet. So
right.
it all comes down to is, what do you want? What do you want? What does your life look like? What does your day look like? You can make those decisions the moment you wake up. You can decide what your day is going to be. Yeah, there
Mm-hmm.
may be surprises, but again, like you said, how you react to it is the energy that you're going, is not only the energy, but it's the feedback from the universe that you're going to get, is based on how you react to it.
Well said. Very well said. Okay, Alex, the biggest question that I have for you is, what do you see in the future for QHS?
I see QHS and the technology everywhere on the world. I also see it on starships, planetary made starships, that this technology, as it continues to evolve, it will go off world. It will go to colonies on the moon, colonies on Mars, to other places that we may venture to or already have ventured to. I don't see childhood diseases. I see childhood diseases going away entirely because of this technology. I see the longevity of human life on an average being extended maybe another 30, 40 years per person. I see brilliant people, like, I'll use an example, Stephen Hawking's. Had we had this technology up and running, there is no telling what this technology may have done for him, which would have extended his lifetime, and we could have benefited from his remarkable brilliance for much longer.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people like that all over the world that are doing remarkable things, but their lifespan is too short. And by the time they find some success, the earth, the survival, the pressure, the stress has worn their bodies down so much that they never really get to live and enjoy the success that they would
And
have had.
the controllers of the world are shutting them down so that their success won't make its way to the rest of us,
The rest of us,
oftentimes,
exactly.
right?
Right.
Because they're like, oh, well, we don't want people to have that. Squash that project.
Well, that's how this technology's been squashed already
I
back
know.
in 1991. This was mothballed. They didn't want it to go any further. And they were already regrowing limbs. So, then there's professional sports, there's musicians, there are scholars, there are artists, archaeologists, adventurers. Anyone and everyone that has a remarkable talent can expand their life and begin to teach other generations, future generations, their knowledge. And they're there themselves present to do it because they're healthy and they have now added a decade or two or three to their lifetime, so they can teach everything that they've learned to future generations, so that future generations will be as smart, if not smarter than we are. And that is called the law of consistency. This is what other star nations out there do. They don't dumb down their populace. Okay, their populace is smarter than the current population, because they want to make sure that everyone, that the civilization leapfrogs into the future successfully, healthy, as an entire whole organism, because that's how they see it. When extraterrestrials fly by here, they don't see all of us as different races. They see one race, the human race. We're the only ones who don't see that. And that's all been part of the programming. And, there is so much of our history we don't know. We need this technology to be out here and available to everyone, so that we can all live long enough to find out where our true history has been and what's been removed from us. Because so many of us have so many questions. We don't understand how this all worked, and that's because we've been fed bullshit.
Yeah.
For 1,000 years. It's just been absolute rubbish. And how fun would it be to be able to play with your great grandchildren, right? How awesome would that be?
So exciting.
Yeah, they can know Grandpa Alex.
And then it's like the young people don't watch their older generation be sick and be ailing and be having a slow death. It's like everybody's going to be vibrating high and feeling great until they decide they want to go. That's my vision. It's like, we're going to have fun and enjoy this life in this human body until we decide, let's go take another round and see what we want to do. But I feel like the choice is going to be back in our own hands.
That would be awesome. Yeah, we've done everything we wanted to do, and instead of it being a somber event, it would be like the Irish. It'd be a celebration,
Yeah.
and dance, divide up their clothes, all that stuff.
You're funny. You're awesome, Alex. I adore you. You know that.
Thank you, Tracy.
So thank you, my friend, so much for coming to spend some time with me today. And I just look forward to seeing you in person, face to face, one of these days.
Knock on wood.
Thank you for making this QHS project fly. This valorous admin team, thank you. The Key community welcomes you. Thank you for making your home QHS healthy and happy. Thank you for helping us place QH centers all around the world. Together, hand in hand, we make miracles happen. QuantumHealingSystems.org. Thank you.